Joining us now is Congressman Mike Quigley. He is the co-chair of the Congressional Ukraine Caucus. Good morning.
Good morning.
Missile strikes close to the Polish border. What if one accidentally crosses over the Polish border? What decision do we make as it relates to Article 5?
I think you have to couple that with the totality of what's taking place. Director Burns said, in fact, Putin has doubled down, and he is very determined to grind down the Ukrainian military, regardless of civilian casualties. You are seeing war crimes in real time. And please let me recognize the extraordinary role that the brave journalists are playing in this. I get briefed as a member of the Intelligence Committee, but in terms of vast quantity and quality of information, so much of it is open source. So much of what the world is learning comes from these journalists, and it has helped marshal and unify, particularly the West, to help us deal with this situation. I do want to add, when you talk about that missile attack 10 miles from the Polish border, you have to couple it with the Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia saying that they will indeed target those convoys that are bringing lethal aid to the Ukrainian military.
You've been a proponent for a no-fly zone. We just heard from John Kirby, the Pentagon spokesperson, saying that if we do this, you have to be prepared to be shot at, not only shooting down what is in terms of the no-fly zone. Do you believe that that would be an escalation, though, of this war and also dragging the United States and other NATO allies into the conflict even more so?
Sure. But look, we've already made the calculus that if they do something in NATO, that we're willing to take all those risks. So first, let me say, hasn't Ukraine earned this? When we talk about the spirit of NATO and why we formed NATO in the first place, we're imagining exactly what Ukraine is going through right now. And when the Soviet Union fell, Ukraine released and gave up all their nuclear weapons in the Budapest Memorandum. That made the world safer, and we promised to defend their territorial integrity. So that has to count for something. But finally, we are already there. With the threats I just talked about, the final analysis here is Putin has doubled down. The risks are there. The nuclear power plant in Chernobyl and the indiscriminate bombing of the plant south of there that has 6 units there puts an extraordinary, catastrophic threat to all of Europe and beyond if Putin is allowed to continue.
The U.S. taxpayers are contributing $200 million to the effort. How long does that give Ukraine? I heard one general say that if they can hold out 10 days, that they might actually have something here.
Well, if you have to couple it with the fact that I was proud to vote on an aid packet of total of $13.4 billion last week. If this continues, that will have to continue. The number will have to get better, larger. In the end, though, there is an overwhelming force here, and despite the logistical nightmares that the Russians seem to be facing and some degree of incompetence, they still have that overwhelming force. There is the specter of chemical weapons being used. This is beyond dangerous. I think it's an impossible war for Putin to win outright, because there's not going to be any peace treaty. There's not going to be any giving up on the Ukrainian side. So even if they take the cities, there'd be an insurgency that would last 5-10 years. But you have to be very proud of what the Ukrainian military has done so far.
So if they're having discussions, is an out for Russia to get the Donbas region and maybe Crimea and call it a day, or do you not see that being a possibility?
It's certainly up to the Ukrainians. I'm not here to tell them what they can and can't do. There's always room for diplomacy, particularly given the threats. So given the risks they face and the challenges they have, that's up to them. Our job is to make sure it's their decision, and they aren't forced to do this just because they haven't been given enough aid here to defend themselves.
Congressman Quigley, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.